Have you ever gotten that feeling of excellence? Good, because I really need your help. But seriously, do you ever feel that your potential and aspirations might not be as conventional as societal norms perceive them to be? Whether it's doing jobs that the world is forcing you to do, or pursuing a career that might not be the most viable with many hardships. And I think that's why the character of Rodrick stood out to me in a way I'd never seen a character do to me before. So without further ado, let's talk about why Rodrick Heffley is secretly a genius.
Rodrick, can you explain what you're doing in this photo?
That's not me.
You need to crank it up full diaper!
So if you've been with my channel, you might know that Diary of a Wimpy Kid holds very dear to my heart, even the inevitable tragedies. But I think a character that I've always wanted to talk about in full detail is Rodrick. I remember my first introduction to him was reading the books and generally disliking him since he was just another obstacle getting in Greg's way. But I guess proper maturing is realizing that Greg was the actual villain and not Rodrick. What do you know, internet? I guess opinions do change. But the reason I'm making this video is that I genuinely believe that Rodrick is quite an intelligent human being. Now, hear me out. When I say he's intelligent, that term could be used in many ways.
Sweaty?
Pretty sure it spells sweetie, Dad.
Huh. That's strange. He's not the best at spelling, yet he writes these killer essays. Sometimes I sit and wonder about stuff. I don't know, like what the heck the Earth was like 100 years ago. Okay, sure, we've all been there before. That's a pretty relatable depiction of the human mind struggling and how capricious mankind can be. It's pretty philosophical stuff. Did cavemen ride dinosaurs? Did flowers even grow? Oh wow, do tell. Well, we could guess, but that was back 100 years ago. I wish they built a time machine and picked me to go check out what the scene was like 100 years ago. Did giant spiders rule the earth? Were deserts filled with snow? I wonder what the story was like 100 years ago. This is supposed to be an essay, right? Okay, maybe it's not the most academic intelligence we'd normally see, but that's what I want to cover in this video. Which I think the only way to call it is societal expectations. As humans, there's a certain line you have to cross to achieve the normality that people expect you to have. First, you have to go to school, get a degree, preferably in sciences, a sustainable career, ideally an engineer, doctor, lawyer, nothing in between, a committed relationship, have kids, retirement, the grave, and then let the circle of life do the rest. And to a lot of people, that's fine. That life to them is what they felt was their potential. But some people seek to find more, that sense of belonging, that feeling of being conspicuous because that's the only way for you to find happiness. And Rodrick is a character that demonstrates that kind of person. His parents disapprove of his musical prowess, but he realized he could take advantage of that. When your parents go away and leave you alone, of course you're gonna have this spontaneous party or mess with your brother. It's such an accurate representation of the teenage persona. No individual has to be the next revolutionary or fit in with the status quo because not all people are built like that, and I can speak from experience. I've never been the most scholarly or erudite person in the world, and I'm fine with that. I have other interests that I can later equate to in my life that will never revolve around the Pythagorean theorem. But the real problem is never how you see yourself, but how others try to taint your judgment and determine your sole value just because you didn't enroll in every AP class. And Rodrick is a guy that believes in cutting corners. His strategy of lowering people's expectations becomes so low that when he's watching TV and his dad asks him to move his underwear off the table before he comes back from work, and when he supposedly does, I've never seen Frank happier. Another trick Rodrick would do is when Greg wanted to rat him out, he would pretend like he was running away from home and come back like 5 minutes later, leading to the same effect of Greg crying and forgiving Rodrick for whatever he did. Either Greg is that one guy that listens to a person who tells him that the word gullible is written on the ceiling, or Rodrick is just that smart and cunning. And looking at the movies, which are far more neutral than the books, have much more complex development that I couldn't have imagined for an adaptation of a kid's book. We notice Rodrick's internal goal is to have people appreciate him. He wants to show that he's this cool guy in a cool band and that one of the members in his band is Scott the Woz. His dream is to be a musician. It's everything to him. And because we live in a world filled with many more opportunities and changes, with the internet being a huge, multifaceted benefactor for that, Rodrick wants to find success in another way than having a stereotypical steady revenue stream type of occupation, which is inspiring. He's got a gift for the drums, he's talented enough and dedicated enough to reach those goals in the future, and being part of a band is pretty cool. Like, come on, your average person doesn't have a gift for an instrument good enough to seriously consider being in a rock band, but Rodrick does. He played for his school talent show, attracted people to his garage with just his music, utilized that in his part-time job, and aspires to be a professional. You can argue that's because it's the only thing he's good at, but even the most insignificant talents also come with a lot of devotion to the craft. In the first Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, he's pretty much the amalgamation of what he was in the books. The devious, scheming, deceitful older brother we all grew to hate, with some of the most iconic lines in any kid's movie ever.
Let go, baby hippo!
And in Rodrick Rules, the superior movie of the entire franchise, the Empire Strikes Back of the Wimpy Kid trilogy, if you will, because it's the second one. And I honestly think Devin Bostick's portrayal of Rodrick is one of the most underrated performances of all time. He's written to convey how furtively clever he is, but masks a lot of it by acting clueless, how his main flaw is being easily careless, yet he can overcome that thanks to his intelligence. And I think something about Bostick's delivery comedically,
Hilarious, Grandpa. Read another one, Greg.
and especially emotionally, is just so well done. Legend has it that Devin Bostick pulled a hernia when he had to carry the trilogy. And in Dog Days, throughout the movie, it's clear that Rodrick's gotten a lot older now. Sure, he messes with Greg, but now it seems like they're confidants more than ever. And throughout the story, his main goal is to have a relationship with Heather Hills, returning to the idea that he wants people to admire him. And to impress her, he becomes the band at her Sweet 16 party and does a cover to a song that for some criminal reason did not make it to the Hot Billboard charts. I feel like Rodrick is the most accurate teenager Hollywood's ever had. Sure, he isn't the most intellectual, except for that one essay that brought me to tears, but he's motivated about something that can lead to success on his terms. Most teenagers in books are mean bullies who break the rules and are defiant. Rodrick doesn't need any help beyond a high school guidance counselor. Meanwhile, the rest of his family need to be committed to a sanatorium. From a somewhat neutral perspective, and as an older brother myself, I sympathize more with Rodrick simply because he's the typical older brother. Lazy, will let the younger siblings do all the work while we do nothing but still take the credit, yet helpful and sympathetic when we need to be. And not only was Rodrick the best character and by far the most memorable of the Wimpy Kid universe, but it was all thanks to Devin Bostick. You rule, man. And are we not gonna talk about how Rodrick invented feminism?
I'm sorry, women.